Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 at 3 o'clock p.m., and that means it is time for Women in Business. Today, we're going to talk about who defines us and what do we do when how we're defined maybe doesn't fit in with who we think we are or who we want to be. So I want to start this off with a couple of stories about how I have been defined in different times of my life. And one of the things that I wanted to show you right away is that I'm wearing a ring today. And if you've been around me for any length of time, you probably know that I very, very rarely wear rings, almost never. And the reason that I don't wear them is because I was told when I was younger that I don't have pretty hands. I also had very sensitive skin when I was a adolescent and a teenager, and it broke out often. So I often had cracks in my hands or really dry skin, and it was not attractive. And I also have tiny fingers. So bigger rings like the one I'm wearing today sometimes feel awkward to me. So this whole belief that I had that I can't wear rings, that I can't wear big rings, that I can't do any of this kept me from wearing rings. Now, this particular ring that I'm wearing today is my mother's, and when she passed on, it was given to her sister, my aunt, who I was also very close to. And then when my aunt died about a year and a half ago, the ring came back to me. Now, this ring has been sitting on my dresser for a year and a half, basically. I've never worn it. And it's a nice memory. I mean, it's something for my mother. It's something for my aunt. There isn't any reason why I can't wear it. I just don't wear it because sometime in my past, I was told that I didn't have pretty hands, I had short, stubby fingers, and I shouldn't wear rings. So it's a silly belief. It's a minor belief. If I don't wear rings, is my life going to end? No. Is it going to impact my earning ability or my happiness or anything in any major way? No. But it's also kept me from wearing a nice memento of my aunt and my mother, two women who had their faults both, but were also amazing people who inspired me and loved me and supported me in the best way that they knew how to do, and I appreciate them both for what they taught me. So this is a good reminder of that. So I should be able to wear it. And if a limiting belief is keeping me from doing that, it's stupid, and I need to let it go. Now, the other belief that I want to talk about, or the other thing that I want to talk about is my name. And you're all going, yeah, your name's Christine. We know that. The thing is, my name was not always Christine. I mean, yes, legally, I was born Christine Renee Shreve, but I was not called Christine until I went to college. When I was in high school and when I was an adolescent, I was called Chris. And if you've ever been around me now, you know that when people call me Chris, I do the puffer fish, as Hannah Gadsby would say. I go, because somebody called me Chris. I don't like it. I don't want to be called Chris. And the reason why I went to the full version of my name, number one, I think it's prettier version of my name. And number two, I discovered that I didn't really like the person who had been Chris. She was negative. She held a lot of negative beliefs about herself. She wasn't very confident. She wasn't very kind all the time, and she had a lot of pain that she was carrying. And if it sounds like I'm talking about her as a separate person, I kind of am, because I was a very different person under that name. And it doesn't have a lot of good memories for me, honestly. I mean, I wish I could say it did, but it really doesn't. So switching to Christine and staking out a claim on that name was really like, okay, I'm wiping the slate clean and I'm dictating who I'm going to be now, instead of behaving in ways that a lot of people had told me I should behave. So is that extreme? Maybe a little. But to me, it has a symbolism that really works, which is Christine is this person. And this person I've worked hard to build into somebody that I like. Chris was a very unhappy young woman who really didn't know where she was going in life and didn't like herself and didn't like most other people very much. So I'd rather be Christine. It's a symbolic thing, but there were a lot of beliefs that people put on Chris that I didn't have to take with me when I became Christine. Crazy, I know, but something to think about. And I'm going to look at the comments here and see Jamie is here. Hi, Jamie. Nice to see you. And Lisa says, catching you on LinkedIn to see how it connects. Hopefully it's connecting well, but thank you for being here, Lisa. So the first thing I want to talk about today, because who defines us and what beliefs we have about ourselves can come from a lot of different people. So where I want to start today is where those beliefs might come from, because sometimes you need to do the detective work to figure out, okay, why do I believe this about myself? Who said this about me? How credible is their opinion? How much do I value their opinion? How much do I trust their opinion? What could have been working in them that made them tell me this thing about myself? So, of course, one real source of defining yourself and possibly of negative beliefs about yourself is your parents. And I will make a blanket statement here that for the most part, yes, there are probably parents out there who are just dead evil. But for the most part, even if your parents did damage to you, they were doing the best they could. They tried to do as well by you as they were capable of doing. Now, that might not have been very good. They may have been dealing with their own damage. They may have been dealing with their own limiting beliefs. They may have been passing down things to you that they were told by other people. There's a lot of different reasons why your parents may have laid some limiting or negative beliefs about yourself on you. Some of it might be they were genuinely trying to help by their lights. So when they tell you boys don't like girls who are overweight, they maybe were genuinely trying to help you by inspiring you to lose weight. When they tell you that girls can't be scientists or boys don't cry or whatever it is, they could genuinely have been trying to relay their understanding of the world to you. And they may not have done the work to say, why do I believe what I believe? And is any of what I believe harmful? I mean, and it could sometimes be, and this is something that I had to understand and learn as I got older and looked at my parents, that their worldview is just so different than yours that they can't quite comprehend what you're trying to do or who you are. So they try to shape you into what they understand or what they think is safe. I'll give you an example. My mother was very oriented toward having a man in her life. She was married to my father for 21 years. When they split up, she immediately started dating right away and then became whatever that particular boyfriend wanted. And then she married my stepfather and morphed into a completely different person to be what he wanted. That's how she operated. Her sense of safety came from having a man in her life. Now, it's not a mode that I operate on. She and I had a lot of years where we really didn't understand each other because she operated on that mode and I completely did not. Not that I didn't hope to meet a man and have a relationship, but I decided very, very early that I wouldn't be dependent on that wouldn't define me. And so she fed me a lot of beliefs about how I should look, how I should behave, the necessity of having a man in my life. And then my father, for his part, basically viewed women as needing men to take care of them. So from him, I got beliefs about you need somebody to take care of you. Your mother needs someone to take care of her. You guys can't do it on your own. So there were a lot of beliefs thrown at me that basically could have forced me, had I taken them in and accepted them, into a relationship that maybe I didn't want, or into becoming a person to have a relationship that maybe I wasn't naturally, or maybe would have been a persona that wasn't realizing my fullest aspirations or talents. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. And parents, the most well-meaning of parents, who are really, really genuinely trying to do good by you, do well by you, and do good for you, can feed you beliefs that maybe are not going to serve you well later in life. It happens. Beliefs like, don't talk to strangers because strangers are scary, or beliefs like all men want to get in your pants if you're female, or beliefs like boys can't control their hormones, or whatever it is. There's any number of them. Pick one, pick 10, whatever. But I do want to get the message across that I'm not saying that parents are deliberately setting out to screw you up. There maybe are some that are, but for the most part, I think parents are trying to do the best by their children that they can. Sometimes their best is a little messed up. That happens. But we need to all be aware of that. So I don't want to make this into parents are all evil and they're trying to harm you, because that's not what this is about. I'm just saying one of the sources of beliefs, some of which could be limiting, can come from your parents. And we have some more comments here. Jamie, lovely to see you, Jamie, says, hello, great to be with you. Shedding others' beliefs, nasty comments is so crucial to one's well-being. Totally agree with that. Completely agree with that. And Lisa says, I like the Christine you have transformed yourself into. She is a kick-ass strong woman. I have to say thank you, Lisa. And I like this me too, much better than I have liked former iterations of myself. So I feel like I'm 52, which is a little sad to say, but I feel like I'm finally coming into my own. And yes, Jamie, that's just like your opinion, man. Jeff Bridges, the dude, the Big Lebowski. And yes, that's exactly true. And that's one of the things we need to remember is what anybody tells us about ourselves is their opinion. And another big source of these opinions is your teachers or your school life. And I had teachers for years who told me I was bad at math. I wasn't bad at math. I just didn't care about math. I can do math just fine. And I can understand math. I just don't like it or care about it. And honestly, when I was younger and in school, I wanted to do the stuff that was easy, and anything that involved words was easy. So I did that stuff. And math, I totally didn't care about. And I did the bare minimum I could do to maintain a decent grade point average. That's how it is. But your teachers can have a lot of impact on what you think about yourself. If they tell you you're smart, if they tell you you're not smart, if they tell you you're good at something or not good at something, if they label you the class clown or the class disruption, or they make you the person who, I don't know, do people clap erasers anymore? Probably not, because they have whiteboards now. But, you know, if they make you the class monitor, or they make you a student teacher and ask you to help kids that are having problems with something, you get one opinion of yourself. If they sit you in the back of the class and tell you that you disrupt things too much, you get another opinion of yourself. And school in general can also form your opinion of yourself. Do you fit in? What's your group? Who do you belong with? Are you a drama geek? Are you a stoner? Are you a jock? Are you popular? Do you have a clique that you hang with? Do you get teased? All of these things can help form your opinions of yourself. And, you know, speaking as someone who was teased a lot in junior high, it can really help form a negative opinion of yourself if you're constantly told that you're substandard and if you're singled out for bullying or teasing. It's sad. I think they've made quantum leaps in how they handle that stuff from what used to happen when I was in school, which was pretty much nothing. at least in my case. But then again, I don't think kids were socialized to talk about it as much or to report it as much. We just kind of put our heads down and endured it because that was kind of the ethos of the time, I guess, is if you were picked on, you just kind of sucked it up and dealt with it. I don't know what would have happened had I told my parents. My guess is probably not a lot, but you know, it just wasn't how things were handled when I was in school many, many years ago when we walked both ways in the snow to the little wooden schoolhouse with the bell. So anyway, I like this ring apparently because I'm doing a lot of this. I don't know why. I amuse myself sometimes. It's funny. Anyway, so what you were told about yourself in school, how you interacted with people in school, how well you fit in school, what your teachers said about you, what they wrote on your report cards, what they told your parents during parent-teacher conferences, all that stuff can also have an impact on what you believe about yourself. The next category that these opinions can come from is your romantic partners and your friends. If you have a boyfriend who tells you you should lose 10 pounds, if you have a girlfriend who tells you that, you know, guys are tough and you should stand up for me against these people that are being rude to me or whatever, or your friends who may tell you that you're a good writer or you can't play kickball or you're not very coordinated or whatever it is. And, you know, unfortunately for us, romantic partners can have, unfortunately, if you have one who isn't kind, which, okay, sometimes happens, or someone who doesn't like themselves very well and needs to take that out on other people, then your romantic partners can tell you a lot of things about yourself that are negative and may not be true. And again, I feel like I'm talking about all these people and saying these negative things. And romantic partners and friends can also be a huge source of support and positive feelings about yourself and can really help you figure out who you are and who you want to be. You need to find good ones and you need to have good judgment. And sometimes we don't, especially if we've been fed a lot of negative beliefs about ourselves. So there's double-edged swords on all these things. And when I'm talking about where these views come from, I tend to be focusing on the negative because I think the negative views are the problem. If everybody in your life is telling you that you're awesome, then you're going to think you're awesome, hopefully, unless you have a serious self-esteem problem, and then you need to get some help for that. But this is another source of what you come to believe about yourself, the people in your life who are your romantic partners or your friends. And we need to be aware of that. And then the last one is just, what does society in general tell you? Women should be thin. Women should wear stiletto heels. Women shouldn't talk back. Women should be seen in that herd. Children should be seen in that herd. Men should be tough. Men don't cry. Men shouldn't be sensitive. You're too sensitive. You're too melodramatic, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that society tells us about the roles that we're supposed to play. If you're female, you're supposed to be a mother. You're supposed to want children, or so society in general will tell us. If you're a man, you're supposed to be tough, and you're not supposed to be sentimental, and you're not supposed to cry, and you're supposed to like sports, and you're not supposed to care about art, and unless you're an artist, in which case you can, but if you're an artist, you might be gay. So, there's a lot of beliefs that we carry around that are cultural, that are almost so ingrained in the society in which we live that we don't even realize that they're there. And we don't even realize what they might be implying or how they might be working in our own lives. So we need to look at all these things. We need to look at what our parents told us. We need to look at what we learned in school and what our teachers told us. We need to look at what our friends and our romantic partners over the course of our lives have told us. And we need to look at what society tells us. And we need to really look at these beliefs. And the reason why we need to look at them is that oftentimes what we've been told isn't serving us well. And what we've been told may be limiting us and keeping us from being the best people we can be, and keeping us from doing the things that could really be of benefit to ourselves and to society in general. I'm not going to say it's an easy process. It's not. Looking at what you've been told and doing the work to figure out, is this an accurate thing? Is this something I can fix? Is this something I can change? And yeah, there's a lot of different levels of beliefs. There's the belief that I shouldn't wear rings. There's the belief that I need a man to take care of me. On the scale of weight, these are two different things. One is relatively minor. If I don't wear rings, my life is probably never going to be impacted in any significant way. I just won't wear rings. If I firmly believe that I need a man to take care of me, then I may morph my personality. I may accept treatment that isn't beneficial to me. I may forego goals. I may lie about who I am. I may try to change my personality in order to keep a man in my life to take care of me. So the beliefs are, there's minor beliefs that you can change them or not, and it's probably not going to make any difference. And there's major beliefs. The major beliefs are the ones that you really need to examine. And you need to figure out, is this serving me? Because if it's not, you need to get rid of it. Because if you're limiting yourself because of what your sixth grade teacher said, or what your parents told you when you were a kid, or what your boyfriend when you were in college said about you, then you're really losing a lot of potential in your life. And who needs that, honestly? So that's the first step if you're trying to get out from under beliefs that you think don't serve you anymore. You need to examine what you believe about yourself. Write it down on a piece of paper. Turn on a camera and do a video like this and just talk about everything you've ever been told about yourself. What you were told about your skills, what you were told about what you should wear and how you looked and how you spoke and how you thought, what you were told you were good at, what you were told you were bad at. Anything that defines how you behave today, take a look at it. It's not always a fun process, I got to tell you. It can be hard because some of the beliefs that we have become so ingrained in us that it's really hard to root them out. And some of them are painful. And some of them will make you mad when you look at them and what they may have stopped you from doing. I'll give you an example. It's a silly one, but so when I was maybe 7 or 8, certainly younger than 10, my mom signed me up for a dance class. And it was kind of a modern dance. Little kids wear leotards and, the footy tights with the cutouts so your toes stick out. And we were all, none of us were like seriously talented. It was just for fun, basically. But we did different kinds of dancing. And I remember, doing a group dance and getting really into it and thinking I was really cool and amazing. And gosh, this was so fun. And I've always had a good sense of rhythm and I've always liked music, but I never had danced before. And in that particular class, they had the parents and the family members could come and sit and watch if they wanted to. And at one point in the class, we had to do what they called run leaps, which are actually jetés in ballet, where you kind of run and then you're supposed to leap and your legs go out and then you land gracefully and you keep moving. So I did one. And I'm sure I was probably as graceful as an elephant. It was not a skill. But I happened to look up and my mom and my sister were laughing. And I mean, not like giggling, like full on hysterically laughing. And I had been the only one who'd gone. There was nothing else funny happening in the room. So my assumption, and which was later confirmed, was that they thought that what I had done was funny. And I went over after the class and my mom said, well, maybe dancing isn't your thing. And in my head, the little thing clicked that I am not graceful. I should not dance. I look silly when I dance and people will laugh at me. Okay. So one little incident in when I was 7 or 8, and I basically have never danced since then. I don't dance in public. I don't exercise in public. I don't really let anybody see me do anything that needs a great amount of coordination. Now, was that what my mother was trying to do? Probably not. And would another kid maybe have shrugged it off? Probably. But at that age, at that time, I was very, very oriented toward making everybody in my life happy. And I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. And so hearing that in my head cemented, you shouldn't dance. So, and why am I telling you this story 34 years later, or however long it's been, or 44 years later, or however long it's been? Because it stuck with me and it did limit me. And like I said, I don't think, I mean, I'm almost entirely sure that it was not done with any malice. It was just a funny moment of an ungraceful kid trying to do a graceful move, and it struck my mother and my sister as funny. And my sister was always very much more coordinated than I was, so there you are. But it stuck with me enough that it limited my enjoyment of music and getting up and dancing. And it's now to the point where I don't know that I could do it and enjoy it without feeling really self-conscious, which is not to condemn anyone and not to say my mother was a bad mother. It's just to say this moment happened, it stuck with me. It's a belief that I've carried forward into my life. So when I started looking at what do I think about, why do I think these things about myself, that was one of the beliefs I had to look at. And we all need to do this. I think even if you had the rosiest, most great childhood in the entire world and you never had a crossword with your parents and everybody in school loved you and your teachers thought you were amazing, you still need to sit down and look at what you believe about yourself, because you can also have an inflated opinion of your abilities or your desirability based on how you've interacted with people and what you've been told about yourself. So you need to really look. So make a list. Like I said, turn on a camera and talk into it and say, these are the things I believe about myself. This is what my parents told me about myself. This is what my teacher and my schoolmates told me about myself. This is what my romantic partners and my friends. This is what society tells me about who I am. And here's all the things I believe. I'm not good at math. I can't dance. I shouldn't wear rings. Whatever it is, that is your own personal little list. And really what you're looking at is just, okay, let's start digging out the beliefs that don't serve me. Let's start digging out the beliefs that don't work for me, that maybe are limiting me. I mean, you know, if you believe you're an amazing singer and you're an okay singer, it's probably not going to hurt anything. I mean, as long as you don't think you're going to go on American Idol and blow the judges away. You know, you have to be realistic about what you believe about yourself. And you also have to be realistic about the goals you set for yourself. Now, if you're an okay singer and you want to go on American Idol and you're willing to do the work and the training to try to get better, then yeah, maybe your belief that you're an amazing singer can come true. Just because your belief may be beyond your skill level at the moment, that doesn't mean you can't get there. And just because you believe something that's limiting about yourself doesn't mean you have to continue to believe that thing. So that's what you need to remember about all this, is because I've had people, and I know this happened to me a little bit when I did it, who say, oh, I don't like doing that because I look at all these negative things I believe about myself and it makes me sad and it makes me, you know, feel like there's just no point in this. And so don't do that, because any belief can be changed. Anything you believe about yourself can be changed or discarded. Just because you believe it today you don't have to believe it tomorrow. one thing does not necessarily follow the other. So just do it in a spirit of scientific inquiry. You're just making a list. Here's the parameters of what I believe about myself and my life. And do it with a sense of, these are just things that are, and I can change them if I need to. And if you go about it that way, then you're going to end up with a list that you can look at fairly dispassionately, which is what you want to do, because you're going to need to sort out the beliefs that serve you from the ones that don't, and then figure out how to get rid of the ones that don't. And the next thing is also hard, is that realize you may have to let some people or things go to evolve to where you want to be. That might mean letting go of some beliefs that you have. It might mean letting go of some people who are reinforcing, it's harder to say than you would think, negative beliefs about yourself. That might mean letting go of activities or places or situations that maybe were fun but aren't helping you pursue your goals, aren't helping you be the best person that you need to be. And I ain't gonna lie, it can be tough, because sometimes you'll realize that the people you have to separate from are people you really love, or people that society tells you you should be enmeshed with, or you should be close to. And you have to make the decision that, okay, I don't particularly want to be the person I am when I'm with these people, so I need to be not with these people. Or, this person has a view of me that I don't think is accurate and I don't think helps me, so I need to not be around this person. And it's really hard to do, because sometimes the person you have to let go of could be a romantic partner. It could be a longtime friend. It could be family members. Sometimes the events or things you need to stop doing or going to or being in are things that you really love or that have a real significance for you. But if they're not reinforcing you being your best self, then you may have to let them go. And it is hard to do. I'm not saying this blithely. I'm not going, well, you just need to change your whole life and let things go. I realize it's hard. And I realize that not everyone will understand the decisions that you make, and not everyone will support the decisions that you make. And that's hard too, because it sounds selfish, and I understand that. I get that sometimes choosing yourself and choosing to step out of situations or relationships that aren't serving you and aren't benefiting you sounds selfish to other people, because you're choosing yourself over them. And especially if you've been brought up to be a caretaker and a people pleaser, choosing yourself over other people is going to be really disorienting for those other people, especially if they're used to you being the other way. And they will fight you on it. It's a sad thing, and they may fight you on it because they genuinely believe they're doing the right thing for you. I always will. Eric Campbell talks about the principle of charity a lot on the Take Up, which is basically ascribing the most positive motive to anybody with whom you're arguing or having a discussion or having a conflict. That you just assume that they are doing what in their mind is the right thing to do. And I think the principle of charity also has to be applied in this situation, which means the people that you may need to spend less time with, the places you may need to go less, the things you may need to let go of, may be operating from their own sense of what's good for you, may be operating from their own sense of trying to protect you, may be operating from a weird sense of thinking that they're supporting you, and may not listen when you tell them that's not the case. So you have to be really clear when you examine your beliefs about yourself and then you determine which ones aren't serving you anymore. You have to be really clear about what you need to do to let those beliefs go. And you have to accept that some of it might be uncomfortable and some of it might not be understood. And that's tough because we want the people in our lives to like us. We want the people in our lives to support us and understand us. Doesn't always happen. And sometimes the very people who you have been told by society or by those people themselves that should be the ones who love you as you are and support you the most are the people who don't. That's life. It happens. And one of the best things about toxic relationships is once you realize they're toxic, you're not stuck in them. You can leave. You are not a tree. You can move, to quote another kind of saying. And if you're not a tree and you can move, then you can change what's harmful to you. You can change what's not serving your best interests. Now, like I said, it may not be easy, and not everyone in your life is going to understand. And you may get criticism for it, and you may get pushback on it. But if you really know who you want to be, and if you understand what beliefs you're carrying that aren't going to let you get to where you want to be, then you'll do the work. That's the basic bottom line on this. If you are unhappy enough, and if you are dissatisfied enough, you will do the work to get to where you want to be. And you will accept that there will be some sadness in this. You will accept that there might be some pain in this. You accept that some relationships might end, that some things might be gone from your life, that some things that you did and enjoyed no longer serve you and you can't do them anymore. That's how it goes. So, I don't want to make this sound easy because it's not. It's a wholesale kind of looking at the foundations of your life and pulling out the stones that aren't supporting you anymore. It's not an easy thing to do. A lot of people will never do it, but an unexamined life is not worth living. You want to live a life where you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you know that you're pursuing the best options for yourself. That's how it goes. That's the life you should be living. And I can tell you, as someone who has done this, is my life perfect? God, no. No, not even a little bit. But I'm much happier than I have ever been because I feel like I am actually doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. And it took me a long time to get here. I hope it doesn't take you 52 years to get here. I hope you start this earlier. I hope maybe you were more aware than I was when I was younger, or more confident than I was when I was younger. But wherever you are, if you're 52 or you're 22 or you're 12 or you're 62 or you're 82, you can start. You can do the work. You can figure out what isn't serving you and get rid of it. That's the hopeful message of all this. That's the thing that's so great about all this. Like I said, you are not a tree. You can move. You're not stuck. And I spent a lot of years thinking I was stuck. So realizing that I wasn't was like a miracle. To understand that I could make changes and I could say no to things. And that was a valid choice. Was wonderful. Because for a lot of years I had spent my life thinking that life happened to me and I had no say in it and I couldn't do anything about it. And I was just getting whipped from stone to stone in the river, and who needs that? So the next thing you need to do, and this is a hard one too, listen to your gut, because your gut will tell you a lot of times if there's a person in your life or a situation in your life or a belief in your life that you need to get rid of. And it's a hard thing to do because a lot of times what your gut tells you might contradict what the person, if it's a person, is telling you or the situation is telling you. It might contradict what society tells you. It might tell you something that you don't want to believe or that is alarming or shocking, and so therefore you ignore it. I'll give you an example. This is not one that I'm terribly proud of, but here we are. The guy who molested me, I knew it was going to happen. My gut was telling me that there was something going on, that he was deliberately getting me alone in these situations for a reason. And I ignored it because I didn't know who to tell, because part of me was starved for attention, particularly male attention, because I had a huge crush on the guy and I wanted him to like me. So I knew what was going to happen, and I knew it probably wasn't going to be good, but I didn't have the tools at the time to listen to myself well enough to stop it. And yeah, I carry guilt about that. I do. Even though in retrospect, I look back at that young girl and I realized there was no way in hell she was avoiding this, because I was set up by a master, someone who figured out that I was prey and came after me. And I didn't have parents that would have handled it well. I didn't really have anybody I could tell. And I had somebody who was pulling my strings who was really, really good at it. But still, there's guilt there that I knew it was coming and I didn't do anything to stop it. It is what it is. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to go, well, this is how it was, and I can't make it any different. And I mean, is it something that eats at me every day? No. But it was a time when I really should have listened to what my gut was telling me. I have learned to be a lot better about that. I've also learned that my particular sensitivity or my gut feelings or whatever you want to call it are usually pretty accurate. And if I think I shouldn't be doing something, I shouldn't be doing something. If I think a person, even if they seem really nice, is not so nice, I'm usually right. If I think somebody is lying to me or they have nefarious motives for whatever they're doing, again, usually right. And part of that is, empathy or sensitivity. Part of it is a very well-honed ability to watch people's cues, which was honed in my childhood from trying to deal with my family situation. So, I have skills in this area. So I have learned over the years to be sure to listen to myself, to try to figure out what my senses and my gut and my experience is telling me, and to pay attention because it's important. And I need to be sure that I'm living the life that I should be living. And I need to be sure that I'm protecting myself too. And usually when I ignore my gut, I'm not protecting myself and things don't turn out well. So if you have a feeling that a certain person or situation or whatever is not serving your best interests or isn't going to end well or isn't a situation you need to be in, listen to it. Where I think a lot of us, honestly, are much more aware of kind of subliminal cues than we acknowledge that we are. And we pick things up that we may not even be aware that we're picking up, and we call those our gut feelings or our empathy or our sensitivity or whatever it is. So listen to those inputs when they come to you and act on them if you think you need to. And don't tell yourself that you're jumping to conclusions or you're being a scaredy cat or you're unjustly condemning someone. You know, if you get a bad vibe off somebody, listen to it. If you get a bad vibe off a situation, listen to it. There's a security expert called Gavin de Becker, I think his name is. And he wrote a whole book about this particular subject. And he basically says the reason that a lot of us get into situations that we get into, negative situations, mass shooter situations, he says in almost every one of those situations, somebody noticed something. Somebody noticed a guy acting funny. Somebody noticed someone who was wearing anomalous clothing for the situation. Somebody knew something or heard something and they dismissed it, or they ignored the alarm that they felt, or whatever it was. So the little external cues that you're not really aware of can tell you a lot, and you need to pay attention to them because it can be important. The next thing you need to do, especially when you're dealing with limiting beliefs, is ask yourself, is it true? Is it true for you? Are you really bad at math? Can you really not sing? Can you really not dance? Does it matter? Do you have to be an amazing dancer? Can you just get out on the floor and wiggle your tush? Does it matter? And ask yourself, do I have to be a size 3? Do I need a man to take care of me? I mean, granted, these are my beliefs, but you know what I'm saying. You know, are redheads hot-tempered? Is gray hair really a sign that you're too old? Whatever it is, whatever your beliefs are that are limiting you. Am I really bad at speaking in public? Am I really not a leader? Am I really better off just being a cog in the machine than standing out in front and leading the band? Ask yourself, is this true? And ask yourself, does this belief serve me? Am I limiting myself because I believe this? Am I limiting what I can do? Am I limiting what I'm willing to try? And it's a lot of times you are. And that's sad because we all have so much to offer the world. And we all have our unique thing that we can put out there that can help other people. And if you're limiting yourself, if you believe you shouldn't speak in public, if you believe you don't know how to teach people, if you believe you shouldn't dance or you shouldn't sing or you shouldn't write or you shouldn't draw or whatever it is, then you're limiting yourself. Now, yes, we all have things that we're better at than others. I'm a better writer than I am at doing math. I'm not bad at math, but I'm better at words. Okay, turns out I like words, so that works for me. But that doesn't mean that I can't do math. It just means I'm not as good at it as I am at something else. I weigh what I weigh. Does that mean that I'm not acceptable? Does that mean that I'm not desirable? Does that mean that I should always wear black and stand in the back of the room? No, because what I weigh has nothing to do with what kind of person I am, how smart I am, how articulate I am, the experience I've had. Well, okay, it has something to do with the experience I've had, but it doesn't have anything to do with my talents or my abilities. It doesn't stop me unless I let it stop me. And that's still, I gotta tell you, full disclosure, that's still one that I'm dealing with a lot, because for a long time, my weight dictated what I did. I did not get up in public. I did not speak. I did not go on camera. I now have decided that it doesn't matter. I have something to say. I want to say it. I think it can help people. I think I'm doing some good in the world. And I can do that good whether I weigh what I weigh now or whether I'm a size 3. So, no, it's not true that people who are bigger than a size 6, women who are bigger than a size 6 are substandard. No, it's not true we should sit in the back of a class. No, it's not true that we're the last to get picked for romantic relationships. No, it's not true. And I think this can be one of the most powerful things that you do, because you're looking at what you've been told about yourself, and then you're really just dissecting it almost. And what you find is this pile of things that were laid on you by other people or other things or society that don't have to limit you anymore. You can let them go. You can move on. You can become the person you want to become, and you can believe what you want to believe about yourself. It's a very freeing thing. It honestly is. Now, it's also, how do I want to put this the right way? It's also a little scary, because limiting beliefs in a way can keep us safe, because you aren't putting yourself out there. The first time I did a seminar, and I've told this story several times, in public, where I got up and talked in front of people and gave a class, I was terrified. Had there not been a podium in the room that I could hold on to, I probably would not have stayed standing. I was terrified, but I did it. And a limiting belief that I couldn't get up and talk in front of people was demolished. And then I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I got better at it, and the audiences got bigger, and they got more complimentary. And now I love it. Same thing with when I went on camera. There's like a 2-month hiatus in the middle of from when this show started and when it continued, because I got in my head so much about what I looked like on camera that I couldn't be on camera. And I had to go back and ask myself, does it make any difference if my face is fat or round, if I'm pale? Does it really matter what I look like on camera? Is that the point of this? And no, the point of this is not my physical appearance. The point of this is the words coming out of my mouth that are hopefully helping somebody who needs help, or the words coming out of my mouth when I'm interviewing some amazing kick-ass woman who's telling amazing stories about her life. That's what's important. That's what's true. So, like I said, not going to say it's always an easy process. Some of these beliefs can be really embedded. Some of them we can cling to, like our blankie we had when we were 5. You still have to do the work. Sucks, but there it is. And the last thing, and I say this as the champion people pleaser of all time when I was a teenager and a young woman, I wanted to please everybody. I thought that was my mission in life. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted everybody to think I was great. I wanted everybody to want me around. And the only way I knew how to do that was to make everybody happy. And I also had examples of that in the household where I grew up, where people would morph into people they really weren't to try to please somebody else. And I was a chameleon, man. I was a changeling in a lot of ways. And now I look back on that and go, but I really wasn't at the same time. I was very much trying to please people, but there's always been this kind of bedrock core in me that just said, nope, this is not for you. This is not who you are. So I did a lot of people pleasing. And but I also understood who I was underneath all that, if that makes sense. So it was a little calculated, I'm not going to lie. But what you get when you stop trying to please others is so much freedom, because you stop caring what other people think. You stop worrying about what other people think. You stop considering how your behavior will be accepted or treated by other people. That's not to say that you don't care about other people. That's not to say that you don't want to treat other people well. It's just you're not letting them have a say in what your life is. And you're not worried about what they're going to think about the choices that you make. You're making the best choices for you and accepting that these choices are not going to be acceptable or accepted by everyone, and that's okay. And you don't need them to be, because they're your choices. It's a very freeing mindset, because you're not worried. You can take up space because you're you, and you have unique qualities and good things that you bring to the world, but you don't need to make other people happy to be acceptable. And you don't need to make other people happy to be worthy of a seat at the table or a spot on camera or a place at the front of the room. It's a really great thing. I highly recommend it. I really do. So basically, the message that I'm trying to get across here is that we don't need to let other people define us. We need to define ourselves. And part of defining ourselves is to look at how other people defined us, determine what of those definitions serves us and what doesn't, and then take steps to get to the place you want to be. This is an ongoing thing. It's going to happen over and over again. You don't do it once and you're done. You're going to have to do weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, yearly check-ins, whatever time period you want to set up to do. But it's totally worth it. That's what I want you to know at the end of this. It is totally, totally worth it. And I'm almost at an hour, which that always floors me. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you all about today before we go is that Applique Getaway is having a virtual Applique Getaway, November 12th through 14th. And we haven't really announced registration being open, but it is. So if you go to appliquegetaway.com, you can register for virtual Applique Getaway, which is happening, as I said, November 12th through 14th. And we're getting a great lineup of instructors. I'm really excited about who's coming on board. We'll be announcing all that soon. But if you liked real Applique Getaway, you should definitely come to virtual Applique Getaway. And if you couldn't come to actual Applique Getaway, come to virtual. It'll totally be worth it. I promise you. Thank you, everybody who listened today. I appreciate you being here. And I will see you next week. I am working on guests. I'm going to step up working on guests because I have a bunch of people lined up and I just need to get them scheduled. And I've been kind of focusing on Applique Getaway, so I haven't been paying as much attention to getting that done. I promise I will get it done. I need to be two people sometimes. So, and I'll show you my ring one more time because apparently I really like it. Anyway, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you spending time with me, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Bye.